Hi guys, my name is Grant and I do things, and today the meme embargo on Avengers Endgame has just been lifted. This upcoming week is the third week since Avengers Endgame's release, and I think the rule was after the second week you could start memeing it. Everybody and their mother has been making Avengers Endgame videos. All the film, video essay channels have been having such a beautiful couple weeks. All of the film essay channels on YouTube, Nano V Movies, all the other ones, they have been making their video essays, and they've been very much so capitalizing on Endgame's release. And I want to do the same thing. But I don't really do film essays because A, essays suck, and B, I'm not a film major, and I don't know anything about movies. But I do know a thing or two about science. So the way I'm going to capitalize on Avengers Endgame is I'm going to explain some science that they made up for the movie. Fictional science right here. It should go without saying there's going to be some heavy spoilers for Endgame. So if you have not seen it, what are you doing? Go watch that movie. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Alright, if you're still here, I'm assuming you've seen it. In the movie, there's a lot of time travel. Time travel being used loosely. So the time travel plot in Avengers Endgame, no one understands how it works. I remember the first week after Avengers Endgame came out, I was on the subreddit called Endgame Spoilers. It's where it was a closed memeing community about Avengers Endgame. It was great. No one on that subreddit could figure out how the time travel worked, which is sad because I thought it was kind of obvious. So in this video, I would like to explain to everybody how the Avengers Endgame time travel works. Because right now, a lot of people's careers are being made off of Avengers Endgame, and I wanna join that bandwagon. So let's get some paper. So here's how the Avengers Endgame timeline works. How am I gonna do this? That works. This is a mess. I should have thought about this logistically before I started doing it. So here's how the Avengers Endgame timeline, here's how it works. Essentially, you exist in time, right? Like this is the start of time. Start of time. Yeah. Keep going through time, and eventually you hit the 1940s. This is going to be important later on. Keep that in mind. As you keep going, you'll eventually hit the 1970s. As you keep going, you'll eventually get to 2012, 2013, 2014, 2020, I think it's 2023. So time travel works very strangely in a lot of movies. In Back to the Future, it works like this. When you go back in time, you change an event and a new outcome comes through, meaning that the original timeline is kind of whack. Some other movies do it a little bit differently. In Harry Potter, for example, when you go back in time, you've always gone back in time, and so your time traveling does not change the overall course of history, because it's just always happened. That to me has always been the most scientifically, I guess logically sound explanation of time travel. I think Endgame just beats it a little bit, just barely, but that is like the second best one. Good job, J.K. Rowling. You got one good thing in before you decided to retcon literally everything, and also ruin time travel in your own universe. Good job. In Endgame, how time travel works is like this. When you go back in time, a duplicate timeline is created, starting from where you went back. Essentially, everything from like here to where you time travel to is all the same. They're equal. So what happens is they go back, they jump to an alternate timeline, and then when they're done that timeline, they jump right back. And this happens, for example, multiple times. Technically, if they want to affect their current timeline, they have to bring something back from the old timeline. What that means is that anything that they do in a different timeline has no actual impact on the current timeline. So they could kill literally everybody, for example, in the 2012 timeline with the first Avengers, and that would not have anything to do with their current 2023 timeline. The only way they could affect their current timeline is if they go back and they bring something back with them For example, an Infinity Stone. Huh, who thought of that? That is why when Nebula kills Nebula, nothing really happens to the current Nebula, because that Nebula is unaffected by that Nebula. We'll pretend it makes sense. I think that Marvel did a really good job with this time travel thing, because it makes logical sense up until the very end. You see, I think they really flopped the landing on that time travel thing, because you can't really argue. You can argue, like, why didn't they do things like this, or why didn't they do this instead? You can argue that all the live long day, but you can't really argue that the time travel science doesn't make sense, because I think mathematically it works pretty well. The only exception is at the very end when Cap comes back as old man Captain America. It doesn't really make sense that he would not show up in the teleporter. You could argue that he comes back by his own, like, teleportation back to the original timeline, but I feel like that would just create another timeline loop instead of actually coming back to the original. I don't know. I think that they could have literally solved this problem by just having him show up in the spot with the Hulk. It would change literally nothing, and it would fix everything that's wrong with the timeline. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me just kind of talking about random stuff. If you like this video, like, subscribe. If you want to, I don't even, just go for it. Ring the bell. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Subscribe.